In a match tense as a tightened strain, the ball was lofted into the box, hanging at a height that left both strikers and defenders completely unsure. It was the kind of delivery where just a single mistimed touch would waste the entire chance. But at the very moment Scotland needed someone to step up, Scott McTominay chose the boldest option possible. He leapt, twisted his body, and unleashed a bicycle kick in midair. Denmark's defense, one of the most seasoned backlines in Europe, could only stand and watch as the ball rocketed into the top corner, leaving everyone stunned and giving Scotland an early lead that shifted the entire momentum of the match. From that goal, Scotland seemed reinvigorated. They played with confidence, power, and eventually wrapped up an emotional night at Hampden Park with a 4-2 victory, securing their ticket to the 2026 World Cup. And anyone who has followed Scott McTominay long enough knows that goals like this are no fluke. He isn't just someone who finishes tap-ins or makes simple runs into the box. Scott McTominay can score headers, unleash first-time strikes, and find the net in complex situations that many midfielders simply squander. He's the kind of player whose mere presence in the penalty area is enough to unsettle any defense. McTominay is proving that his nomination for the Ballon d'Or shortlist was not a media stunt, nor a fleeting moment, and certainly not a token nomination. For the past year and a half, he has been playing the football of a truly top-tier player, consistent, effective, a match winner, and able to carry the team when necessary. The Ballon d'Or shortlist is the stage for players with global influence. And McTominay is now stepping into that group in the simplest way possible, by playing every single game as if it were a final. When a player has just carried Napoli to the league title, led Scotland back to the World Cup after nearly 30 years, and simultaneously become the epitome of tenacity, effectiveness, and character, his appearance on the nominee list is not a shock. It is the inevitable outcome of a spectacular ascent. Scott McTominay was once a divisive figure at Old Trafford. Some argued he was merely a stopgap solution, while others saw him as a role model for attitude and discipline. But for Sir Alex Ferguson, it was a completely different story. Even when McTominay was just starting out, Sir Alex saw something in that skinny young lad that greatly resembled a young David Beckham. That included his small stature, his slow and steady development, right up to the point where he suddenly broke through once placed in the right position and the right environment. Sir Alex once said that whenever Manchester United was preparing for a big match, McTominay was the name that had to be in the starting 11. The way he described him was nothing short of an assurance for a player who possessed the spirit of the previous generation of club legends. Time passed, and McTominay went on to play under both Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, reaching a milestone of over 250 appearances, lifting an FA Cup and a League Cup before leaving United in 2024. This happened despite Ten Hag's desire to keep him, as Manchester United needed to sell to make room for Ugarte. Many thought it was the end of the road for him, but it turned out to be a pivotal redirection that opened up a brand new chapter. Moving to Napoli under Conte, McTominay began playing a brand of football that even former Manchester United fans hadn't expected. He scored, created impact, and became an irreplaceable cog in the machine. That overhead bicycle kick against Denmark in the World Cup qualifiers is only the latest example. It was akin to that moment when Beckham stood tall after years of being booed, reclaiming respect with a bold piece of skill that only players with nerves of steel would attempt. Sir Alex's initial comparison of McTominay to Beckham was precisely because he saw this type of silent resilience. A player who grew through diligence and hard work, who didn't rely on the spotlight but only believed in getting better every season. Now, at 28, playing for both Napoli and the national team, Scott McTominay is truly entering his own Beckham moment. He is no longer the subject of suspicion, no longer the target for fan criticism. He has become the type of player who can turn the tide of a game, break deadlocks, and make a national team explode with one decisive moment. McTominay left United when virtually no one believed he would reach greater heights. But just as Sir Alex once described, there are some players who don't need noise. Nor do they need immediate applause. They just need time, and a place that allows them to reveal the missing pieces of their game from Old Trafford. And Napoli has somehow become the place where McTominay proved that Sir Alex never praised anyone without good reason. The rumor is that Manchester United wants to buy back Scott McTominay. And if true, It highlights a rather hilarious irony in football. There are items you once discarded, but when someone else uses them exceptionally well, you go back knocking on the door to buy them back at a higher price. When McTominay left Man United, he felt like a burden, a piece that no longer fit. But at Napoli, he transformed into a monster. A midfielder scoring over a dozen goals. A true symbol of Conte's fighting spirit. And that's when United suddenly realized they might have sold him too soon. International reports confirm United is seriously considering bringing him back. The rumored price has reached over £40 million, perhaps even exceeding €50 million. But here's the catch. Napoli isn't stupid. They possess the most complete version of McTominay's career. He is the linchpin of Conte's system. To buy him, United needs to come knocking with real money, real value, and an offer high enough to make Napoli laugh first, and then start thinking. And everyone knows how Napoli operates in the transfer market. Let's assume United wants to buy, but Napoli doesn't want to sell. United misses him, but McTominay is not short of love at Napoli. This deal sounds logical on paper but is, in reality, a massive challenge because the player they once underestimated has become one of the most well-rounded midfielders in Serie A. Napoli is guarding him like gold. And if United truly comes back asking, the answer will likely be a price higher than the number they originally received. A price so high it makes them question whether they misjudged him from the start. Bringing €50 million to Napoli's door now? You might not even touch his shadow. He is a cornerstone in Conte's system. A player Napoli views as a strategic asset. Touching him at that price would break your hand because they know they possess one of the most complete and dangerous midfielders in Serie A today. McTominay is no longer the defensive midfielder who only knew how to break up play like he was at Manchester United. He now scores goals to rescue his manager and makes runs into the box like a deep-lying forward. He is good at headers, excels at one-touch finishing, presses hard, and his tackling is among the best in the league. A player capable of filling 3 or 4 roles simultaneously is extremely rare now. And Napoli will never sell him cheap. Moreover, look at the market. Can €50 million buy you a truly world-class central midfielder in Europe right now? No. For that price, teams only find prospects or decent players. But a player who is currently an MVP in Serie A, who is breaking Denis Law's goal record, who is helping Scotland qualify for the World Cup, and who scores match-winning goals, his value must be on a different tier entirely. Therefore, the rumors are just for fun reading. And if anyone genuinely believes that €50 million is enough to lure McTominay away from Napoli, they probably haven't been watching Serie A this season. Manchester United in recent years hasn't lacked sporadic trophies, but it has lacked clear direction. Under Ten Hag, McTominay certainly had his moments of brilliance. From the brace against Brentford and the double against Chelsea, to the goal and assist in the thrilling 4-3 win over Liverpool in the FA Cup. He was also part of the 2 cup final wins against Newcastle and Manchester City. Yet it was still not enough. McTominay was only ever viewed as a rotational option. No manager, not even Ten Hag, granted him a long-term starting spot, and he had to fight for a place in a midfield that already featured Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, and Kobbie Mainoo. It's hard to blame United entirely because they couldn't have known that McTominay would blossom so beautifully at Napoli. When they sold him, United recorded a pure profit that helped meet financial fair play requirements. At the time, it was a rational decision. Perhaps throughout his many years at Manchester United, McTominay never truly believed he was an outstanding player. This was evident in every interview, in how he spoke about his teammates, and in his attitude when mentioning his direct competitors for a position. He was always the type of player who was so humble it bordered on insecurity. Always putting himself second, always thinking his only job was to run, tackle, fill the gaps, and do the work that few people noticed. But Napoli changed everything. They gave him a new identity, a new dream, and a status that McTominay himself had never dared to imagine. From a diligent worker, he was elevated to the role of a star player. From a player only seen as a rotational option, he became the central figure. From someone constantly having to prove his worth, he became the man the entire stadium stood up to applaud. Conte saw something in McTominay that United had never fully exploited. That was his attacking instinct, his ability to decide a match, and his explosiveness in the most stressful moments. The Napoli environment has elevated him to his rightful level, placed him in the right position, and given him the chance to become the most complete version of himself. McTominay's ticket to Italy was like a one-way trip, no return. No intention of reverting to his old version. He has tasted what it's like to stand in the bright spotlight, to be acknowledged as a key component, and to live up to the full potential he had suppressed for years. McTominay is no longer just a player who runs, he has found his true value, found his identity, and found the dream he never thought he could reach. And when someone has climbed to the summit through their own hard work and perseverance, they will never want to return to the humble shadow of the past.